I mean, this is like, I'm mad because like, do you guys like having people tell you no? So then it became, I'm putting him out of business. Like, I don't know how, but I'm putting this guy out of business.
How you get here today in the seat in those beautiful Birkenstocks?
In the Dior jacket.
Well,
we just got on your ass.
now,
I'm sorry.
I had to load myself up in my car and come up here from Orem. It was about a 45-minute drive, which I did in about 35 minutes.
Beautiful.
Yep. Spun up here in a little 1977 turbo. If you guys like vintage cars?
I love it.
That's what I like.
Okay. What's your favorite?
Well, my favorite car I own is a 96 turbo. Now, the reason being is this guy that ran race teams for Porsche back in the 90s. It was Dietrich Andiel. It was his car. And he pumped it up to like 580 horsepower, and it's beauty to drive. It's like it's everything, no doubt. 96 turbo silver on the outside, bright blue on the inside. Like, and I redid the inside, which you don't do to classic cars. You do not touch the inside, but I had it ripped out in baby blue, dashboard, headliner, doors, seats, everything.
Right.
Yep, that's it. That's the one.
How often do you drive it?
In the summertime, all the time.
Yeah, I was kind of like that. I have a Ferrari or whatever. Or I used to have a Ferrari, but literally in the summer, if it's meant for the summer, I drove it every single day.
Yeah.
Dre sits on his and never drives his Ferrari.
I drive it sometimes.
No, come on.
Like literally, I don't care if I'm going to
Don't drive it, you sell it. That's what I say.
Thank you.
I want to keep it for forever, but I want to get into No, in Miami, I drove it every day. It's my only car.
Which one is it?
The Lusso. It was the old FF. They changed the name.
Okay.
So it's really the only ones we can comfortably fit in.
I mean, I had the 488 Spider. I was forcing it, but YOLO.
I like that one though.
That's nice.
I love. So I've got the 458 Speciale.
Oh.
And I wrecked it last fall into a wall. My bad.
That's how I know I don't have enough money for a Ferrari, because I don't think I could crash a Ferrari. If I crash a Ferrari, I feel like, man.
It was a light crash.
Light crash, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Bounce back all good?
No. It was a really bad idea. It started to snow in Utah. And I'm like, I've got to get this to my hangar, get it out of my garage, because it has, tires on it that aren't good for the winter weather. I thought I was being easy on it. I was coming on the on ramp to the freeway, and it literally just like was on ice. Wow. Boom, slammed the wall. It was like 35 miles an hour. So it wasn't major damage, but I did put it in the wall.
Did you catch what he said though? Where was he taking it?
He's taking it to the hangar.
Yeah, okay.
Listen
closely.
So Dre has this thing.
Come on now.
No, we go get there.
It's my wife's hangar. It's not mine.
No.
So we'll just get there.
We've
been talking about that.
Dre has this thing where I'm like, damn, Dre, like, you should buy this, you should buy that. And he's always like, bro, I need a house for it. I need a location for it. I need the right thing to go along with a Ferrari. So like he takes steps and be like, look, bro, if I'm gonna cop this, I need the house that matches it where it's going to sit. So like, that's why he's so particular and finicky with.
Yeah, I'm weird.
There we go.
And so if I have like, my favorite car is, I don't know if I have one anymore, but it was a Maybach at one point.
Okay.
But if I don't have a driver,
right,
or if I don't have,
hold on. Let's go there then.
Okay.
I've never had a driver.
I don't think you have to have one. I just feel like the purpose of it is to have one.
No. Hey, look, I live in Utah, so driver in Utah. I don't know exactly. I don't typically really care what people think, but Orem, Utah, no one's probably ever had a driver.
You got a Maybach?
I don't have a Maybach, but I have a Ghost Black Badge Edition.
Is that 4-door? Is the Ghost 4-door?
That's 4-door. It's the 4-door. It's the stretch one. It's the
And you drive that one?
I drive it myself.
I'll be damned if somebody's in the back seat using my amenities. That's just me, yo. Am I lying? I'm driving and somebody back there just turned up. I'd be pissed.
I just feel like it's Succession.
Yeah.
The perfect example.
Okay.
You watch Succession?
I've seen a little bit of it, but I do want a driver. Don't get me wrong.
I don't want to drive it. I want to experience from the backseat.
Yeah, there we go. I'll turn it up a little bit and I'll get that done.
So that's where I go back to the question, how'd you get here? And so I'm glad you answered it that way. Not many guests answer it that way. So thank you.
Yeah.
In terms of how you drove here, but I want to know how you got in this seat, and what all you've accomplished throughout your life.
Oh boy.
Because we've been having a great conversation. I think it's been a real conversation, organic, and some people from a distance can call it tasteless. So I want to go back to a point where you lost it, where you don't have survivor's remorse because you earned everything you got it.
Yes.
All right.
So you can sit here and have a real conversation, like, yo, I have a Ferrari here, I crashed it here, I crashed it there. Like, no, I'm not bragging. Fuck you, I worked hard for
Yeah.
it. Like, that's where it's at.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, I want you to do your thing.
Okay.
Because we're going to tell the folks who you are, because the normal basketball fan knows your company based on the arena, but
Yeah,
they don't know
yeah.
exactly who you are. And we have this third base theory. And you,
I don't even know what that is, but I want to know.
right, because you didn't come from that. And so that's why we want to hear
Okay.
your story. Like, you really had zero
Yeah,
at some
I mean,
point.
I did have zero at some point. Well, zero financially, but I had a lot because of how I grew up and who my parents were and my upbringing. I had a lot. I had a lot that maybe I didn't understand at the time, but it was there. I just had to go get it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But
Yes.
I'm going to give you a small background, like in my background. So I grew up in Idaho. Do you even know where that is?
Yes.
You've never been there, though, probably.
I've been there. Washington State, we play in Pullman, but the hotel we stayed in was in Idaho.
Oh, well, that's not.
So we
really
saw
being,
all
that's
the,
not really being in
we saw
Idaho.
we're from the Midwest, so
Yeah.
we see cornfields. And so that was
Okay.
the first time I seen potato fields.
Okay.
And so instead of green, it
So
was
do you
brown.
like potato fields or cornfields better? If you had to look at one
Aesthetically,
or the other. Come on.
the cornfields. It's green.
Okay. I'll give
Versus
you that.
brown.
I'll give you that. So I grew up in Idaho Falls, Idaho. My dad was an orthodontist. He'd grown up in Idaho Falls. My mom grew up on a dry farm. Do you know what a dry farm is?
I do not.
Which there aren't that many, left anymore. There are still dry farmers. Which a dry farmer is a farmer that has no irrigation rights. So the only rights they have, if it rains, they get that rain. If it doesn't rain, their crops don't grow. So she grew up in very humble beginnings, very, very humble beginnings.
Wow, I never heard
Alcoholic
that.
father, pretty abusive. I never really knew him. He died my grandpa died in a drunk driving accident. But that was my mom's perspective. My dad's dad was a tailor, like literally like made suits, nice suits too. He was from Denmark. So, my parents were like good, solid people, just like down to earth, like good people. I grew up with 10 siblings. to Utah, and I'm mad. I mean, this is like I'm mad because like, do you guys like having people tell you no?
No, it's
I mean,
no.
you know, look, there's no in lies, but when you know you've got it and someone tells you no,
Right.
it's like not acceptable in the brain and in your heart. It's just not. I drive back. I call this guy like 7 or 8 more times over the next couple of weeks. Of course, there's no caller ID back then. You know, I'm sneaking my way through his secretary. He's like, Todd, no, don't stop calling me. It's no's a no. Stop calling me. I'm like, but Scott, I'm telling you, I will work harder than anyone you have in your company. And it was a no, solid no. So at that time, I'm pissed off. I mean, this isn't even about like anything but I'm pissed because someone told me no, and I knew I was going to work hard. I knew if they made 10, 12 grand,
Right.
I don't know what the number was, but I was going to go for it. So then it became, I'm putting him out of business. Like, I don't know how, but I'm putting this guy out of business.
Mm-hmm.
He owned a little pest control marketing company, real small. So I had my buddy's mom send me the yellow pages from the Bay Area. She lived in like not Danville, but San Ramon, right next to Danville.
Damn, I live right there.
You do?
I live.
Do you really?
I live the spot. I won't tell people where I live, but I live the spot just before that area. I'm in San Ramon.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where I get my Rolexes from.
She lived in San Ramon.
I see everything.
Oh, she lived in San Ramon, and she sends me the yellow pages. I start calling every pest control company in the book, saying, hey, I'm from Idaho, living in Utah, school student. I want to come work for you next summer. Selling pest control on your phone, taking leads like my buddies were doing. Every single person I called said, no, man, we don't hire part-time people. And you live in Utah? You're from Idaho? What? Like, this doesn't make sense. And I just kept calling over about a month and a half period of time. If someone even sort of acted like they were curious, I'd call them back. And that was a hard no. Mm-hmm. I finally got to this guy named Daryl Ennis from Terminex. And at this point, I'm like, I knew how to like knock on doors for my mission, engaging with people on the street, no problem, pretty relaxed about it. I was to the point where I said, hey, look, Daryl. And he was like, now, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to sell pest control, expand your business. I said, look, I'm willing to come out and work for you with your company. I'll knock doors. I wasn't even asking for leads. No leads, no nothing. Right. I'll knock doors, and if I don't make a sale that day or that week, you don't pay me. You only pay me if I make a sale. And he's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, how are you going to do that? And I explained my mission. Right. I know how to work hard. I did the whole thing. And he said, well, come out here and meet with me. So I drive out there, and Daryl's like, well, where's the risk in it for me? And he said, hey, by the way, Terminex is like a big company. Did you know that? I'm like, we didn't have Google. Yeah. So I didn't know who they were. Right. He's like, we're like $1 billion pest control company. I said, well, I had no idea, but that doesn't matter to me. I just want to go knock doors and make you guys money. So, and I said, by that point, I had like 10 of my buddies they're like, hey, if you get a job doing this, can you bring us along? So I explained that to him. I said, I've got a group of people that want to do this if I do it, but if I manage them, like pay me some sort of like override. Yeah. And he's like, well, this seems like a no-brainer, no risk. I'm like, it is no risk. So we couldn't go to California because of this licensing thing. That's where he was. Mm-hmm. He set us up in Arizona, in Mesa, Arizona. Mm-hmm. And one of my buddies, I have no money. And I was making enough money to pay my bills and no debt. I didn't have a debt on my car. It wasn't very expensive. And so I have no money. So I finally go to my mom. And like I was in need. Mm. And I said, hey, Mom, can I borrow $5,000? And I drove up. And like for my parents, like that's a big deal. Yes. So I sat down with my mom and I'm like, I'll pay you back in 4 months. Like every dime I make goes to you first. And by the way, I paid her back $6,000.
That's a warm buck amount.
Yes, I paid her back $6,000.
He loans bank.
And I should have given her equity. Should have given her equity.
But she's your mom.
Yeah, but I did buy her house and her car. So So I got her back later.
Valentine's Day gifts.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So I go to Arizona, Mesa, Arizona. It's not developed out the way it is. My buddy's dad had somewhere for us to live. It was a trailer on an old stud horse farm. And this thing had no running water. It had electricity, but no running water. But it was free. And me and my buddies, there ended up being 12 of them on sleeping bags on the floor of a trailer. That's where Vivint started. Right there. That's where we started.
Wow.
We bathed at my friend Denny's house at night, showered. His dad was so cool. Swam in their pool, bathed at night, back out to the trailer, slept up early because it was summertime Phoenix. Hot. But anyway, that's where we started. All I knew how to do was work hard. I didn't know sales, not really. But I made 80 grand that summer. 80 grand in the summer of 1992. And I worked 9 in the morning till 9 at night, 6 days a week, knocking on people's doors, saying, hey, do you have pest control? What do you think about pest control? Do you have bugs? And $80,000 I made that summer as a young kid. And guess what car I bought Guess what car I bought? If you have done the research, like what car did I buy?
You bought you a DeLorean.
Whoa, this is crazy. So South San Jose, like my car literally was done. It was done. It like the alternator was really bad. I mean, you think you have bad alternators? Mine was bad. It was like, sometimes a day, sometimes two, someone had to jump me. So
You got a pickup.
Nope, I didn't get a pickup, but I wanted a Jeep. So I'm looking in the whatever, in the sales side of the newspaper, and there's this salvage title Jeep. It was a little older that was listed for $5,000. And I called this guy up and I'm like, hey, I'm interested. I said, does it run straight? It's salvage title. He's like, well, it's in a big wreck, but it's fixed straight. I drove to South San Jose at nighttime in kind of a tough area, like not a great area. And I'm a white boy. So I'm like, am I supposed to be here? This seems interesting, kind of down a dark alleyway. I meet this guy and I said, hey, look, I don't have $5,000. I got $3,500. I know you want $5,000, but I can only pay $3,500. Will you take $3,500? He said, well, if we flip a coin and you win, I'll take $3,500. But if you lose, you're driving back somewhere and you're getting me $1,500. Flips the coin, I win, hands me the car, hands me the title. So, I could have bought like something special, something new, leased something up, salvage title Jeep. Moved back to, I didn't buy a house, didn't do anything, moved back to my home I was living in with 6 other guys. My rent was $188 a month. Saved every dime, every single dime beyond that for school. I thought I was going to finish school that way. So I re-engaged in school, and I'm literally in a class. It's a political science class, and like I'm not vibing.
I had one of those.
It's like I don't care about what the teacher's teaching me. Don't care. I'm like, how's this going to help me pay rents, or how's it going to help my future? I just didn't have that perspective. Yeah. And I had a 30-page paper due. And I had the opportunity because Terminex said, hey, would you bring 100 people out this next year? I'm like, I can do this and listen to this, which is it just doesn't feel like it's getting me anywhere. Or I can go focus on building this little company. I might or might not work, I don't know. But I felt like I had something in me that said, I've got something here. And I know how to do this, and I'm in control of what's going on based on my efforts. I stood up, middle class, walked out, never went back. I'm going to say this, stuff doesn't matter. I mean, the cars I have, the plane I have, none of that matters. None of it matters. It's just stuff. It's fun, but it brings no joy. It's just things. I know for a fact, because I was at a point where, I started with nothing. And I'd look at people that had the things, the cars, the homes, all that. And I thought, man, I got to get there because that looks amazing. And when that event happens, man, then I'm going to be happy. But you all know it's not even the payday.
Right.
When the big paydays, people would think, oh man, that's got celebration. When I've had big paydays, and I've had a few, My wife and I don't really even talk about it. It's an event, but it's not one of those things that I've purchased or that I own brought real joy into my soul, my heart. My kids aren't, they don't care what car I buy. They care how much I engage with them and if I'm present with them. And my wife's the same. So that's why, like, I talk about it, and I don't want to be flippant about it, but I do have a lot of things that I have because I worked hard, and delayed gratification, by the way, very, very important. The way I live now is different than the way my wife and I decided to live our first 18 years of marriage. We've been married almost 29 years now, 5 children. When I got married to my wife, I explained to her my vision on where I wanted to go. Now, the companies have gone beyond what I, really believed at that point. I didn't think quite big enough back then. But I said, hey, hon, when we owned a home as a duplex, but my renters covered my mortgage. So I had debt on that first duplex. But I still had my Jeep. I bought her a car that was salvage title, and this is the bad part. I'd paid $3,500 for my car. I bought her a car for $1,800. I mean, that was piggish of me.
Now I understand.
Don't you say?
Now I understand the Valentine's Day
Yeah,
gifts.
I got to make up for
Yes, sir.
what I did in the beginning. I was looking out for me more than her. I feel bad about it still. Don't you think? I bought her a car for less money.
This is the guy to ask.
Don't you think?
No, I definitely respect what you're coming from. I think you do what you can if it comes from the heart.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like, shit, we picking from one pot. I'm trying to make it do what it do. But I think the reward that you do for her for believing in your dream is a big thing. So
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, because so many people that wouldn't believe in it, like, yo, baby, stay with me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take us where we need to go.
Yeah.
But you gotta trust me.
And let me tell you, I can't even
there's a
describe
reward for
to
that.
you my wife. That's you just described my wife.
Yeah.
Like my best friend, Andy. I mean, she's everything. When I say that, she is everything.
Yeah,
Like
that's real.
I said to her, now she grew up in a trailer park in Alabama. So anything that we had beyond a trailer, which it was a little duplex, very old, very small, was better than, where she'd come from. But when we got married, I said, look, I want to build something big. I don't know what it means. I don't know what that is, but we're going to live on the least amount of money possible for the longest time possible. Our first 18 years of marriage, pre-Blackstone, we rented homes. And I'm gonna say this, and I could have afforded to buy homes, get a mortgage on the big house, have my company, because I owned it, pay me a big salary. But when we first got married, I had this company going. It was already going for several years, and it was income positive, quite a lot, several $1 million a year, which back then was a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. But I rolled every dime back into. I was doing real estate also. Whatever the company needed, I provided for growth. All excess capital after taxes into real estate. And we lived in rental homes. We had sold the duplex early because the market went up, bought it for 74, sold it for 140, took the money, put it into real estate, and we started renting. And we drove cars for 18 years. This is no joke. That they were good. Alternators weren't bad. They worked. Yeah. But I drove a truck that was rusted for 9 years, this old Dodge truck. But I saved all my capital. We didn't buy Tiffany's. We didn't have handbags. And we rented homes that were really inexpensive, linoleum countertops, nothing nice, in order to create the vision. So we delayed gratification away. The truth of the matter is, we were just as happy then as we are now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we could pay our bills, roof over our head, food. And we could enjoy life a little bit. We didn't spend much.
But you also had peace at home.
That's right.
Peace of mind. And when
That's
it comes
right.
down to it, a lot of people struggle and fill up that void or hole because they're lacking peace at home and looking for a thrill that makes them happy. So I understand why you do spoiling.
It's that there's no doubt. So here's something that's really important. So My first financial event comes up. I don't know. I know this stuff's happened to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
First financial event's not Blackstone. It's Goldman Sachs. Bless their hearts. Sometimes, not really.
Sometimes.
Not really. I'm gonna try to talk nice. So the company's doing real well. It's growing. It's expanding. This is we're fast forwarding all the way to 2012, and I started the business in '92. So 10-year period. Goldman Sachs approaches me and says, "Hey, we want to buy 25% of the company for $40 million bucks." And this is not cash on the balance sheet. This is cash in my pocket. And I had a partner that owned 15% of the business also. And that was a lot of money for me back then. I had a lot of real estate, but I never took the cash flow home.
Right.
Always back into the business. And at that point, 10 years later, I was still paying myself $60,000 a year. That's it. I never had taken dividends out of the company personally, obviously to pay real estate, but to spend. And so $40 million was a big payday. Well, here's the deal. My wife, we had 2 children at that point, and my wife went into like the deepest, darkest depression postpartum. And it had been a couple of years already, bedridden depression. Now, I had 2 young children, wife in bed, didn't have help. I should have had a bit of help. Truthfully, looking back, I just didn't think like that. And but I still had to run the business. I had to make good decisions for the future of my family. And so we do this transaction, and I get paid. Now I get paid, and I have a wife in bed. She can get out of bed a couple of times a day, and that's maybe to eat, sometimes to shower, use the restroom, and that's it. Now, we had lots of conversations when she could, but she was in a dark pit. I know we've all been around people in that situation that they can't control. And I did get paid. That's a lot of money. And I would have given back every last penny to have that woman that had supported me so fully, every dollar back to have her happy, everything. So I've been blessed in life, definitely financially, no doubt, hard work, whatever. I haven't done it all. I've had amazing people around me, but also call it the cosmos, call it whatever, call it God allowing hard situations. And that's not the hardest I've been through, by the way. That's one of. Allowing things to humble me and help me understand that, man, the things we're talking about, they're fun, they're things, but they don't last.
Right.
But there's something I enjoy, but it always comes down to the people that we're around, and like the people we love and the people that support us that are real to us, relationships, our health. And we say this and it sounds trivial, but it's not. So that's just a little taste of like, where I came from and my first time getting paid and the perspective I've had. And then the life has hit me more times on the head. Maybe I've needed it, probably have. But I appreciate that now looking back on it. Now, by the way, my wife's good and healthy, and I've got Andy back in 100%.
Love it.
Man, I appreciate you coming, pulling up.
Yeah.
Man. I learned a lot, and thanks for being open and vulnerable. I actually,
Yes.
Thank you.
yeah, especially you love that you have for your wife. That was
Yeah,
dope to hear, for real. That sounds crazy, but
No, he
But it's dope.
always talks about that. He was like, my wife and I like, timepieces. And so he always jokes whenever I buy my wife a timepiece.
Yeah.
I can't wait till I love somebody as much as you do. I want to buy somebody watches like you buy her watches. We always laugh about that.
You're not married?
Nah.
Come on.
Nah.
You just have, come on, well, let's talk about it.
No, I'm saying like I'm moving toward,
How old are you now?
I'm 34.
Oh, you're kind of in that zone. You gotta. Now I got married early because like in my religion, like we can't have.
He doesn't, I mean,
I've been knowing my wife since middle school.
yeah, he's not an advocate of it.
No.
But I'm happy I'm married.
There we go. There we go. Okay.
All right, we good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.